Hey, it's Mike Hambright with the all-new FlipNerd.com. Welcome back for another exciting expert interview where I interview successful real estate investing experts and entrepreneurs in our industry to help you learn and grow. By the way, if you haven't checked out the all-new FlipNerd.com website yet, we have a very powerful platform where you can find off-market deals and vendors to help your business and a number of other things. So please go check out FlipNerd.com. Today, I'm joined by Doug Ottersberg, who's a lifelong entrepreneur as well as a real estate investor. And many years ago, Doug discovered a passion that he had, which really was to try to solve his own problem, that led him down the path to become a board-certified clinical hypnotherapist and master NLP practitioner. Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, exactly.
But in his capacity, he's really able to help others with mindset mastery and to help people achieve their goals. So today, that's exactly what we're going to talk about: how to achieve the results you want and how to even maybe get more done in 3 months than most people get all year. A lot of this real estate investing business is mindset. And quite frankly, a lot of everything you do, whatever business you might be in, is mindset. Doug's a master at helping people achieve the success they want in life and helping people discover what they want. A big part of that is getting clear on what it is that you actually want. So I love this stuff, this part of the business, and I'm excited for the show today. It's going to be fascinating, so stick with us. Before we get started with Doug, though, let's take a moment to recognize our featured sponsors. RealtyMogul.com is an online marketplace for real estate investing, connecting borrowers and capital from accredited and institutional investors. Get a rehab loan fast and close in as little as 10 days. Rates start as low as 9%. We'd also like to thank National Real Estate Insurance Group, the nation's leading provider of insurance to the residential real estate investor market. From individual properties to large-scale investors, National Real Estate Insurance Group is ready to serve you. Please note, the views and opinions expressed by the individuals in this program do not necessarily reflect those of FlipNerd.com or any of its partners, advertisers, or affiliates. Please consult professionals before making any investment or tax decisions, as real estate investing can be risky. Hey, Doug, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike, great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So I tell sometimes I pull back the covers a little bit and I tell people the secrets that, the reality is before we record a show, you and I hadn't met before today, but you came recommended from a joint friend of ours that had been on the show before. Sure. And I always take some time to get to know everybody that I didn't know previously. And I think I want your services already. I need to figure out how to be more efficient and help achieve more results. But I think a lot of folks that, especially newer folks that get into real estate investing, they don't really understand that a big part of success is, really all entrepreneurs, a big part of success is what happens kind of between your ears here, right? It's just the
Absolutely.
Getting your mind right. So I'm excited to talk to you today.
Great. I'm excited to be able to help you get more out of your life and anyone that's watching. That's basically something I found out. That's why I was put on the planet. So I'm glad to be here.
Fantastic. Hey, before we get started, why don't you kind of tell us your background? You have an interesting background for how you kind of found your way into what you do now. Can you tell us more?
Okay, sure. Well, I grew up in Nebraska. I went to electronics school to be a technician and went to work out in Los Angeles in the electronic aerospace, and eventually started our own company. And I sold that company on the advice of an early business mentor who said, you've done well in this small business, but yet what would happen, Doug, if you couldn't work? And he said, you need to get something other than you working for you. And that set me out on a mission. And I found real estate. And through my looking at all the different ways of creating income streams, specifically with an eye toward money working for me so that I didn't have to work for money.
Yeah.
I learned about the cash flow business, and that led me to affordable housing through manufactured homes and manufactured home communities. Mm-hmm. And so we ended up, my then girlfriend, who's now my wife of 21 years, we sold that business, went and got married, took a month off for a honeymoon, and came back and started working in our first manufactured home community. And we've just been doing that ever since. We've grown. We've got multiple communities in multiple states now. We also are licensed retailers. We sell the homes. we also finance them for people that want to buy them. So we've
That's great.
created multiple sources of income. And of course, throughout the years, opportunities often end up on our desk that you just can't pass up. So
Right.
we've ended up doing land and some homes, and we have single family rentals. And but as we were talking about, there was a point in my life where, gosh, I owned a huge cash flowing asset, and my kids were sleeping on the floor. And I discovered that my programming in between my ears was telling me, Doug, you've got to work hard and just get by. And I didn't know that's what was happening at the time. But when my daughter had a friend over and they were watching videos, and after the video was over, when her friend said to her, hey, let's go play in your room. And my daughter looked at her and said, room? What room? What do you mean? And the girl said, yeah, where do you sleep? And when she pointed to the living room floor where my kids actually slept on sleeping bags, at that moment, I knew something had to change, because that girl looked at my daughter like she was some kind of freak.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, I feel like such a failure as a dad, as a husband. I'm not providing for my family. What's wrong with me?
Right.
And that set me out on a journey. And I found hypnosis, I found NLP, I found mindset. And I studied it with a passion because I wanted to do right by my family.
Yeah.
And
well, what's interesting, I want to ask you a question, because
Sure.
I grew up in the Midwest as well. I grew up in Illinois.
Okay.
And I'm always fascinated by, not everybody in the Midwest is like this, but people from the Midwest tend to be a little more frugal. They tend to be a little more, a little bit more, in my experience, I found a little more depression, the kind of depression area mentality.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of real estate investors are like that too, because even people that do really well, they're always, I've said this many times before, real estate for a lot of people tends to be feast or famine. And a lot of real estate investors, because it's not like we're selling tacos or, where sales are up or down 3 to 5%. I mean, you could have wild swings in this business. You go months without doing a deal, and then you do a huge deal. And if you win another month or two, you could get wiped out. And it's always this kind of feast or famine situation. And my belief is that a lot of real estate investors, even if they're constantly feasting, are always fearful of the famine.
Yeah, they are.
How much of that kind of plays into some of the mindset that you had?
Well, a lot of that mindset I had before I got into real estate. I owned a computer maintenance company, and a mobile DJ service.
Okay.
All right. And one of the things I realized quickly, again, it's like, if you're not doing deals, if I wasn't DJing, if I wasn't fixing somebody's computer, if I didn't have my hands in somebody's computer, I wasn't making money.
Yeah.
And it was a constant struggle of looking for the next deal, and to keep the phone ringing, and to do all these things. It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I was making an okay living. That's what my mentor said. He said, this business will provide you with an okay living. And at the point, at that point in my life, all I knew was I'm working really hard, and it's not okay.
Right.
To work really hard. So that mentality, I see it a lot. And one of the things that I've come to realize over the years, discovering it for myself and then working with hundreds and hundreds of clients, is not a lot of people learn about money. In fact, there are 4 simple stages about money. And the first one is you've absolutely got to get clear about what it is you want, where you're going. Because I see too many people, they know they want something different than what they're doing now. And they'll hop into real estate or whatever without a real clear idea of why they want to do that.
Right.
Most people come at it backwards.
Yeah.
I know I did.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think, like you said, I think it probably it's infectious in a lot of small businesses. Anybody that's self-employed, I think, is you're kind of up against that cycle of, like you said, if you're not working, you're not making money. At the same time, you need to be finding more work. And so I think it's this vicious cycle of looking for work or staying busy, and it's hard to kind of get out of. And then a lot of times people are frugal, so they're like, well, I don't want to outsource it or hire somebody because I need to stay lean. And then, of course, then all you end up doing is creating a job for yourself.
You're right.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, there's certainly a place for that.
Yeah.
My children were digging through boxes of old pictures, and when my wife and I first started out, and there I am wearing overalls, and I got a shovel in my hand, and one
Yeah.
picture digging a ditch, and another one, fixing plumbing, and another one swinging a hammer, and they're like, "Dad, you don't do that anymore." I'm like, "You're right."
Yeah.
They're like,
There's a
"Why
reason for
not?"
that.
Yeah, I got a new tool. It's called my checkbook.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it really did take a mindset shift. In the beginning, we got to do what we got to do.
Yeah.
And then I realized that there are a lot of people that are way better at doing a lot of those things than I was.
Right.
And I had certain skills and talents. And that actually I came to realize that by my doing those things, I was actually taking bread off of someone else's table. And it was way more important for me to do what I did good, so that I could create opportunities for others.
Yeah.
And so we've just taken that to heart. And the whole idea, and let's talk about just for a moment, that idea of feast and famine. I see too many people struggling. And one of the reasons they do is they get so focused on a particular area, whether it's short sales, whether it's wholesaling, flipping, as you know all about. But one piece of advice I was given early on that I want to emphasize, that no matter what you do to create those chunks of cash, you've got to invest that into something that'll work other than you.
Yeah.
And the thing that I found was multifamily housing. That was a manufactured home community. Could be an apartment. It could be something else, but something else that generates cash flow. And being frugal, it's all right, because in today's society, most people are working to impress their neighbors.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about lifestyle. It's one of the reasons that I love what we do, and we had to learn this the hard way too. Would you rather have to work super hard every month and create $35,000 a month because you have to pay your mortgage and your overhead and all those things? Or would you rather work to create a lifestyle of maybe $5,000 a month? And those 4 stages of income I talked about a little bit ago, the first one is to know what you want. You have your vision. The
Right.
second one is to really get clear about what you actually need every month. And a lot of people, especially these days, they're discovering, I can get by with a whole lot less than I really thought I needed. I don't need a huge monster mansion and 10-car garage and all the cars and all the payments and all the toys and all the stuff that I thought I did. People are learning, hey, you know what? If I don't have as much stuff, I got a whole lot more freedom in my life. And once they learn that, they cut their overhead down. Then they take those skills of being able to do flips and short sales and those things and create big chunks of cash, which they can use to pay off their debt, put away cash for their freedom fund, or then save it and start working towards the last stage 4, which is then to take that cash to buy an asset which will cover your monthly needs, so that you can get about, go on and do what you're really, really passionate about.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a nice place to be. This is when I was in the corporate world before I started in real estate, and that literally just started in real estate 7 years ago. So not that long ago, but somebody had told me in the corporate world, somebody that didn't necessarily say a lot of wise things, but there was one thing that they said, which was, do whatever you can to save up a year's worth of income.
Yeah, absolutely.
And his reasoning was because you act very different in the corporate world. You're more aggressive. You aren't worried about losing your job. You kind of take risks. And he didn't apply that to the self-employment world. But I can tell you that once you get to a point to where, and you know this, once you get to a point to where you live well below your means, you don't necessarily need to work, because your needs are kind of covered and everything else is just gravy and things to have fun with or take risks on or try to build new things. But if it doesn't work, it's not going to kill you. That's a nice place to be, for sure.
It absolutely is. And especially if you have a partner in life, like my wife.
Yeah.
In my case, I know that for us, once we had that cushion sitting there. And I've seen it over and over and over again. When somebody wants to make that leap from corporate into being self-employed, they've got to satisfy everybody on the team.
Right.
And, to be able to let go, like one hand while you're reaching out for the other one.
Right.
It's nice to have that 6 to 12 months of cash in the bank because, man, it makes you sleep good, lets you sleep good at night.
Yeah.
And helps your partner say, okay, yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah. Well, can you talk about these steps a little bit more in terms of at least how people can frame up what it is that they want to achieve? Because like you said,
Sure.
that if you don't know, there's a bunch of cheesy cliches out there. Like if
Right.
you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get there, and some things like that. But
true. One of the first things that I help my students and clients go through is to get really clear about, first of all, where you're at right now. And take responsibility for wherever that's at. Whatever it is, hey, it's okay, you're there. But then the next step, it's like, let's literally get clear about where you want to go. And we look at different areas of life. So, your family life, your relationships, a primary relationship, children relationships, friends, that kind of thing. All right. What's your environment like? Where are you currently living? What's your ideal environment like? Where are you physically? Where are you spiritually? All the different areas of your life. It's been said you can plot those on a graph. It's kind of like a wheel.
yeah.
0 to 10. Where are you at in these areas of your life? And sometimes people's wheels get pretty jagged. They're not rolling down the highway as easily as they could.
You get a couple flat tires.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, based upon that, then we talk about how in each of those areas of their life, they are getting a result. And that result may be one they want. Quite often, by the time they get to me, it's usually they're getting a result that they don't want, or they're unable to obtain a result that they do want. Occasionally, I work with folks that, hey, they're doing really good in their life, and they'd like to do better. So I work with both types of folks. And yet, once we agree that, all right, so this is where I want to go. And most people never take the time to do that, to sit down with themselves, to sit down with their significant others, and even get the kids involved and everybody sit down and let's design our life. Too many people live life by default. And what I've come to be really appreciative of, Mike, here lately is, as we were talking earlier, my oldest son just completed his freshman year of college. His sister, who's a year behind him, will be joining him at the same college. They're both vocal performance majors. And my daughter will also be doing musical theater. We have one son who's a seventh grader. And, life is really about experiences. And I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to learn what I'm sharing here now, because we put the things in place that allowed us to take a month off from our business, take the kids to New York, rent an apartment, and just have a month-long vacation in Manhattan, going to musical theater shows, going to dance workshops, going to voice performances, you name it. Because we knew that that's the way our kids were interested in going, and that's what they were showing, and we were able to provide that for them.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And so that's what I'm talking about. Getting really clear about where you're at, what stage of life you're in. Newlywed, just starting out, they're completely different than somebody like where I'm at right now, where you're at, or somebody kind of further along down the road. So we take a look at what stage of life we're in and what's really important to us right now, and then decide one area to focus on. Mm-hmm. And these days, gosh, people's attention is being so scattered. It's really difficult for a lot of people, to get their nose, out of one of these.
Yep.
These things.
I understand that.
It's constantly freaking blowing up. Excuse me. It's constantly blowing up all the time, right?
Yep.
So that's one of the things that I help people do is once they get clear about where they want to go, then we narrow down their focus so that they can, laser target in on one thing. And we work on that particular area until they start to get the results that they're looking for.
Sure. Maybe take a minute and talk about, when you talk about where you want to go, maybe just, you've kind of, you've integrated it in there a little bit, but talk a little about the role of your spouse or your significant other in that, because I know that there's a lot of people that are interested in real estate investing, and like you said, you have to take care of your family first. There's a lot of spouses or family members. I know even when my wife and we were on the same page when we started real estate investing, but our family thought we were nuts. Like, you're leaving, and we had actually pretty good opportunity cost of being in the corporate world. Yeah. And people thought we were just crazy. Like, you're going to do what? How does that make sense? Why would people buy houses from you? Why would they sell them at a discount? It's just like, well, there's a whole world out there that you don't know existed. And quite frankly, we didn't know it existed either. It was just, we believed it did. But just talk about that role of how you kind of get your family on the same page as you.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do that in just a moment. Let's talk about this result, something we call the results model, for a moment.
Yeah.
And so in any area of your life, you are getting a result. All right. You're either getting a result you want, or you're not getting a result you want, or you're getting a result you don't want. Right. So in any area of your life, whether that's your finances, whether that's your health, whether that's your relationships, you're all getting a result. Well, the only way that human beings can get a result is by taking action. Or, as a consequence, just so happens, not taking an action will get you a result as well. And in order to take an action or not take an action, human beings will only do what we feel like doing. And we won't do what we don't feel like doing. Those feelings are also called emotions, energy in motion. Well, what sets the stage to be able to feel an emotion? Well, it's a response to it's an internal response to an external event. And that internal response is based upon our programming, our thoughts, ideas, and beliefs. Okay? And so, like you said, growing up in the Midwest, we all have a certain, people that grew up in the certain areas all share certain ideas and beliefs, because they're transmitted just like computer programs and viruses, if you will,
right,
to everybody in that area. And we all have it. Our families transmit ideas, beliefs, and thoughts to us.
Sure.
Our peer groups do as well. So, for example, in your family, they had certain ideas and beliefs, which creates a meaning about the way things are.
Mm-hmm.
And when you step outside of that belief and the idea about, how things are, then most people don't have strategies on how to deal with that.
Right.
And so they would much rather stay in their little zone of comfort, if you will, where things are familiar and they know how to assign, this means that, or this means that. When all of a sudden, when you start talking about, oh my gosh, you know what? I see that this job that I'm in is putting a ceiling on how much I can produce. It's called a salary limit, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually, I don't want to be here anymore. There are other things I want to do.
Right.
Well, their programming says no. They grew up at a time where you were expected to get a good job with the benefits, because that's just what you did. Right. And so getting your family and your spouse on board, once you've gotten your spouse on board, then one of the things that I think everyone watching needs to understand is, I've learned over the years that people will do things to get a result in order to meet a need. And that those needs are, I don't have time to get into them all right now.
Right.
But primarily people, they want certainty in their life. They want to be able to feel certain that, the bills are going to be paid, that they're going to be able to eat, they have a place to sleep, that, that they have expectations of people in their life, and those expectations are going to get met in specific ways that they want them to. They want that certainty. But
right.
On the other hand, if things are always certain, then people get really, really bored. So they also want to have variety in their life. They want to have some uncertainty, right? And then they also want to be able to feel important, to be significant in some kind of way. And they also want to be able to have connection with other people.
Okay.
And those are the four main ones. The next two are growth, because if you're not growing, you're dying. So it's hardwired into us. We've got to grow. And it sounds like, for example, when somebody decides, I got to grow here. This corporate job no longer serves me. Then it becomes a matter of, hey, you're either going to grow with your spouse, your significant other, or you're going to grow apart. And it sounds like you and your wife decided to grow together, which is awesome. Then when you integrate the family and your friends, all right, they're looking at you and they've got to make that decision. Hey, I'm either going to go with them and I'm going to grow, or I'm going to try to pull them back and keep them down at my level so I'll feel comfortable.
Right.
And so getting really clear with yourself, hey, I'm doing this because, hey, I feel called to do this. I want to grow. I need to grow. And the sixth need that we didn't talk about is contribution. Because I believe all of us at some level has it within us. We want to give back. We want to contribute. We want to help other people. And that came up in our earlier discussion today. I do what I do because I feel that's my mission on the planet, is to help other people, like you, Mike, like other investors, hardworking folks that they want to take care of their family. But once you've got your own needs taken care of, there's a lot of other people out there that need help. And real estate investors, we're in a great position to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So it really comes down to, hey, once you know where you're going, then you need to get clear about that. And if you have internal programs that are working against you, that's one of the things that I love helping people identify are, what are those limiting thoughts, those limiting ideas, and go in and, once we find out what they are, then help them literally just erase those programs and create brand new ones of their own choosing so that they can move forward to give themselves, the confidence that they need to then, well, you know what, if what I want right now doesn't measure up with what my family expects or my friends, well, you know what? I still love you guys, and it's time for me to find some new friends.
Yeah. What about people that, because I would probably, I think you'll agree with this, a lot of people don't necessarily know what their limiting beliefs are because they're more at a subconscious level. I mean, how do you begin to, I know we don't have a tremendous amount of time left on the show,
Sure.
Unfortunately, but how do people begin to tackle those things that they don't even know are really limiting them?
Well, let me give you a tip. One of the things that we all can relate to is there are moments in our life when we know we're not getting the result we want. And it's usually because we're feeling, let's see, bad. We're disappointed, we're angry. It's in those moments that I coach my clients to stop for a moment and think about, and maybe even keep a journal of what's coming out of your mouth at that moment.
Yeah.
What are you saying, either out loud or what are you saying to yourself? So write down, this is the situation, this is what's happening, here's what I'm feeling. That in and of itself, it for some people is a huge step, because most people go through life on autopilot. They don't know what they're feeling on from day to day.
Right.
And when I point out that, hey, have you ever gotten into the car? Yes. And if you got into a car and you're driving, what do you have right there in front of you? You've got all the instrument gauges that are giving you feedback about what's going on in the driving experience. Well, human beings, I wish we would have been born with like one of those heads-up displays.
Yeah, dashboard.
A dashboard out here in front of us, giving us your heart, kind of like my Fitbit does right now. I got to get on my phone though to see what my heart rate is and how many steps I walk. It'd be really cool if that was all just displayed out here in space. Right. But one of the things that I help people take the time is really, how do you describe what you're feeling right now? And if you were just to think of like a thermometer here, and down here on the low end of the thermometer, if you had all the negative feelings, like depression and no energy and happening at all. I'm really depressed. On the other end is I got a lot of energy and I'm feeling really good, like super joyful excitement, and everything in between, from down here on the negative side, like anger and pessimism, up to hopefulness. When people start really tuning in on how I'm feeling at any one moment, it's really super easy then to learn. Once you learn how to, let's say, take yourself off autopilot and run your own body for once, run your own mind for once. It starts with identifying, how am I feeling right now, and what are the words that I'm using to describe to myself. So, for example, like you said, a lot of people might not know what their limiting beliefs are. I'll give you a certain example. If somebody tries something and it doesn't work, quite often you might hear them say the words, something to the effect of, "I'm so stupid." Well, that is a direct command to your computer to be stupid.
Yeah. Right?
And so what would be a more effective command to your computer? Well, that's what I help people do. It's like, in its easiest format, it's like, well, what's the direct opposite of that? Like, well, I'm so stupid, I'm so smart. Or, well, no, my BS meter goes off. That doesn't feel right to me to say that in that particular area. It's like, well, okay, what would feel better? Like, I'm getting better at this all the time. The more I study this, the better I'll get. Oh, yeah, that sounds good. All right. Yep. So from now on, when you find yourself in that situation, replace the what you don't want with what you do want. And that's where it starts.
Awesome. Well, Doug, we may have to have you back for part 2 at some point. I'm sorry we're kind of running long on time here, but maybe just take a minute and give people, because that's a lot of information to digest.
Yeah.
It's just like, how do you get started? And then I know you probably have some resources that you could share for people to learn more specifically, but just in terms of just kind of telling us, if you could just kind of summarize everything, where do you go to kind of get started down the path of being able to achieve better results?
Well, the first thing that I would recommend that everybody do is shut off your cell phone, block out some time on your calendar, get your significant other with you, and just take a day. If you can't, take a half a day, whatever it is, and just write down, what do I want out of my life? What's important to me right now? What, in terms of my relationship, in terms of finances, in terms of this, in terms of physical fitness, in terms of emotional health, all of those things. Just get clear, write those down.
Yeah.
Because once you get it out of your head and you get it down onto paper, and especially if you do this exercise with your significant other, then you can start talking and literally like rowing on the same team, as opposed to one person's pulling, the other one's pushing, and you're turning in circles, kind of thing.
Yep.
That is the first thing that I always recommend that you do. And the second one is what we just talked about. Just start to notice if there are areas and times in your life, and use your feelings and notice when you're not feeling the way you want to. Right? I often designate, define success as feeling your preferred emotion most of the time. Mm-hmm. So most people, what do we want? We just want to be happy.
Yep.
And that's why most of us do what it is we do, so that we'll have our needs met and we'll be happy.
Yeah.
So notice when you're not happy. And at those times when you're not happy, maybe just write down, what was happening at the time, and what are you saying to yourself or others in those moments. And if you'll start doing that, if you'll start looking at that feedback, you'll start to notice some patterns. And once you start to notice those patterns, then we can go back and start to figure out, all right, now what is this belief that I have about myself, or about other things or other people, or about the way things are, or the way that things have to be, that's working against me.
Yeah.
And then once we discover what those are, then we can move forward and replace that, with things that help you move forward.
And you just start to kind of interrupt those patterns with saying, anytime this makes me unhappy, this is what I said or how I felt. And the next time that happens, I'm going to tell myself I feel a different way or say something different. And you start to kind of reprogram what those things mean to you, right?
Yeah, because most of the time, again, what I noticed, people find out that I understand hypnosis and that I'm this master hypnotist, and they're like, "Oh, don't look in my eyes."
Don't look in my eyes. Yeah.
And
what are you doing with that stopwatch?
They always have a good laugh, and they're like, "Well, can you hypnotize me?" And that's when I share with them. It's like, listen, hypnosis is just a tool, all right? And NLP, they're just tools. It's like you take your car to a mechanic. You don't care if he has open end wrenches or box end wrenches or what do they have. You just want to make sure they got the tools to do the job.
Right.
And when I tell people that, really the thing about hypnosis, we're not hypnotizing people. More often, we're bringing people out of the hypnosis they're in already.
That's fascinating.
And that's when they understand that, they're like, oh my gosh. So yeah, if you want to learn more, you can stop by my website. It's Doug Ottersberg, DougOttersberg.com, DougOttersberg.com. And if you'd like to learn how to get more done in 3 months than most people do in a year, you can stop by 3monthyear.com. That's the number 3monthyear.com. And you can just sign up there, and I'll send you out some videos that are just some quick strategy tips for the different areas of things that I share with my clients that help them, get clear and focused on what they want in their life, and to be able to get more done and be more efficient.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Well, we'll add the links, those 2 links down below the video here. Doug, thanks so much for spending some time with us today.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it. This is fascinating stuff, and I think there's so many people that are in a situation where even if some people look at them from the outside and say that person is successful, I'm using air quotes here, successful.
Yeah.
That person in their mind may not be anywhere close to where they want to be, but they often feel that they don't know what to do about it or don't know who to talk to about it or whatever. So if you're listening to this and that strikes a chord with you, I'd encourage you to learn more, and whether it's through Doug's program or any way you can to become more efficient and achieve the results you want, because the clock's ticking. We don't have forever to achieve the results we want, and why wait another day? So, Doug, thanks again so much for your time. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Mike.
Have a great day.
You as well.
Bye-bye. Are you a member of FlipNerd.com, the most robust real estate investing platform in existence, where you can find off-market wholesale deals and great vendors literally in your market? You can get access to advice from experts and learn about local clubs and events right in your backyard. If not, please visit FlipNerd.com and register for a free account. You can register in less than a minute. It's pretty much the coolest site that's ever existed in the real estate investing industry, so get on over to FlipNerd.com.